Welcome back, everybody. We're here in the reconnection space. This is the space we come to get reconnected with ourselves, with the universe, with life stories, and of course with my fabulous guests. And I have the wonderful Sharon here today. Sharon, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So as always, Sharon is going to be sharing her reconnection moment with us. We love these life stories of reconnection, something that's made a change in your life. And as always, as I do now, I don't actually know what Sharon's going to say because I love the excitement of finding out what people think is their reconnection moment. But firstly, Sharon, tell our viewers a little bit about what you're doing right now and who you are.
Okay, my name is Sharon Ghouila, and I'm an environmental consultant. I have a company called Green Steps Consulting, and my aim is to help both consumers and business owners reduce their environmental impact.
So I've been we're out and about, as you will see today. So I'm actually interviewing face to face, which is lovely. We're here in the NatWest Accelerator hub in Milton Keynes, and they've played a big part in both of our journeys, I think, in helping us shape our business, because this is something for you that you're really passionate about, isn't it? To actually, it's not just a business. This is something that you feel very strongly about.
Yes, it is. I've been an environmental auditor for 25 years, and I've never really felt that I've made a huge difference going into companies, one company at a time.
Yeah.
But with NatWest, it's really helped me be able to get out and actually meet a lot more diverse companies. Where I want to help is scale up companies, because if we reduce the environmental impact at the beginning, actually we're going to not have the problems that we have with Coca-Cola and the bigger companies dealing with the after effects.
I think that's a great point, and it's something that we've spoken about, because I'm a small company, startup, me, myself and I know one of the questions I've asked you is, well, I wasn't really sure how the green policy applied to me. It's just me and my office. And I think getting that awareness out, like you say, of what you do in those early stages is really important, because it's not something that's on our radar for most of us when we start our business. We're head down in that, got to get going, got to get the money coming in, got to get the clients, but actually making that part of the overall startup process is going to really help, isn't it?
Well, it's going to help not just with your environmental impact, but it will save you money, because actually you'll be looking at the leanest you can be and using as few resources as possible, but also looking at the most efficient processes.
Fabulous. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, because what we're all dying to know is what you're going to share. So our reconnection moments, as you know, they don't have to be the biggest things in people's lives, but they are life changing, because these are the moments when something just clicks and people say, I knew then that I was going to do something different, or I suddenly thought about something different, or something happened. So what is your reconnection moment, Sharon?
Well, my reconnection moment is going into schools. I have always had a fear of public speaking. And about a month ago, I gave a talk to 186 students.
Wow.
And it was incredible. But what I realized is, normally for weeks leading up to it, I'm quite nervous, and then I kept questioning, why aren't I nervous? And on the morning of the talk, I was nervous because I wasn't nervous.
Oh, I love that.
And it just went on, and I stood in front of these incredible young people, all very, very keen to do something in the way of entrepreneurship, particularly in the green field. And I really felt my comfort zone. And it was only later, in fact 2 days later, when I started to think about what happened, and I realized that I've conditioned myself to be nervous. So I almost give myself a time frame of 3 weeks before something that I anticipate getting nervous, and then I gradually get nervous, and then, you know, it just spirals out of control. But I've broken that pattern. And the reason I've broken the pattern is because I think it's so wrong that our children have to go on strike to make us all aware of the issues around global warming. So for me, I've really had to step outside my comfort zone so I can go into schools, I can give them more education and awareness, but also I can help them with the heads of the school really get their message across, and they need that facilitator. So that's where I had my moment.
Wow.
And it was just realising the power of these school children. They need people like us, and they need a strong voice.
Because they are so, this is, you know, we talk about trends, and I think, you know, there is a trend at the moment, you know, and we go from kind of one environmental issue to another. So at the moment, it's all about the plastics and reducing the plastic, and we've had other ones before. But they're very much, it's part of what they're talking about, isn't it? It's part of what's going on in their world and their culture. But the difficulty they have is, how do they influence people? You know, where is their power, so as to speak? And we don't want them to give up. So we don't want them to feel like, well, we talked a lot about it, we were taught a lot about it, but we couldn't really make change. We didn't have any advocates. It was all too big for us. We want them to kind of see this as an ongoing thing that they can continue to drive forward.
Yes, I think they will. And I think as parents, we also need to look at the other side of it. If we're looking at the financial issues all the time, I read a statistic the other day that was quite startling. Children born in 2015, climate change will cost them, in terms of wealth, $358,000 in their lifetime.
Wow.
Because the cost of food is going to go up by 85%.
Yeah.
I mean, 85%. Then you've got insurances, you've got houses. Everything is just going to spiral out of control. And actually, if we want to look after our children, we can't just think about the short-term financial gain.
So when you are having these discussions with people, can you, I'm going to put you on the spot, but you know, what are your sort of top tips that you might say to me as a startup business? What are the things I should consider that I can do from the get-go?
Okay, so look at all your processes and try and reduce or stop the use of paper where possible.
Yeah.
Think about where you can use Zoom rather than transportation.
Yeah.
And just look at where you can reduce your resource usage, such as water, such as energy. Do you have to buy plastic bottles of water? Can you actually have a jug of water?
Yeah.
And just think about the little changes. But also, do you have to buy everything? Can you rent? Part of a circular economy is actually moving to renting products because they change in so quick. Right. So maybe that is a better business model as well.
Because we are very much in a disposable culture, aren't we? And you know, it's a separate topic, but there's a lot at the moment about the fast fashion, isn't there? Yes. We say, oh, fashion's, you know, it's cheap and you can change it up all the time, but there's a lot that's going on in the background that's meaning that's not the best way, not for the workers, not for the living, not for the environment.
No, and there's some very, very inspiring business models in Holland, and they actually have shops that rent clothes. Wow. So where we have, you know, we wear it a couple of times, they actually have like our wedding market. So all of the products can be rented. And, you know, this is part of the circular economy. We need to look at where we have zero waste. So my waste could be your gain.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a financial loss to me. I could actually sell it, or it could just be a benefit to somebody else. But just try and reduce waste. It doesn't have to cost anything.
And it can be small things, like you say. It's really small things, and if we all do those small things together, that will start to make a real difference.
Yes, and I think that's the key. Even this morning I ran a workshop and somebody said, yes, but you know, the politicians, you know, none of them are listening. It doesn't matter. No. We have to make the change. We're going to have an election coming up soon. Do you still want to keep voting for the same politicians, or are you all going to do your little bit? And I'm not talking just from a political viewpoint saying vote for the Green Party. What I'm saying is you do have a voice, you know, you do have power, use it.
Yeah. So we hope that's given you a real insight into some of the work that Sharon is doing. And if people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best place to come to?
Okay, I'm active on LinkedIn, so Sharon Ghouila, and you can find me, I'm the only Ghouila, Ghoula. And I tend to have a website, which would be greenstepsconsulting.com. I'm also starting to build up my social media, so if anybody wants to follow me, I would be grateful and I will engage with your posts.
So if you're watching this, you'll see below in the links and the comments that we have got all the links to Sharon's webpage and to the social media that's available. And I just can tell you that Sharon is so passionate about this. There is so much that she knows on this topic. It's certainly not a trend or a fad here. This is something that you are really driving forward, and it's long-term and making long-term change, which we love. So thank you so much for sharing that reconnection moment. And do you know what? I loved what you said there, because I've seen you as you've gone through this journey of building your business, and knowing what it meant to you to stand in front of an audience, for you to pick that and be able to say, that was my moment and this was why. I think that's brilliant.
Thank you.
So my last question, as always, to all of my guests is, what does reconnection mean to you?
I think reconnection to me was the moment that I decided to become an environmentalist. I was on a beach 25 years ago in North Cyprus picking up waste, and I just realised that I had to do something to go back to my values as a child, the way we didn't have a disposable society, and just reconnect with my childhood.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. So we hope you've enjoyed this latest episode of the Reconnection Space. If you have, click like, leave a comment. We'd love to know what you think. Also, click that all-important subscribe button. The more followers we have, the more that we can do here on the YouTube platform. And we want to hear from you. If you have a story about reconnection, you'd like to share that, you've got a message that you want to get out, then we want to hear from you here at Be More HQ. In the meantime, have a wonderful and mindful and healthy week, and we'll see you next time on the Reconnection Space.